Hi folks, it is Friday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is raining currently, just in time for the weekend. Marvellous. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below. And if you can get yourself any more models before the end of the month, go to Composite Games. They can give you a 5% off at checkout deal if you use the promo code Northern Exile down below. I also have my own store down below. If you want a hoodie or a mug or anything like that, I've just bought a mug recently, very nice to drink out of. I'm going to try and get some people to start modelling some things for me if they do buy some stuff. So, if you have bought some stuff, please email me, send me some pictures of you wearing it, not in a weird way, and yeah, cool, awesome. So today we have one hobby nightmare, but it is a very, very, very important one and a very long one. So, I will give you a content warning right now. This person was good enough to write a full-length hobby nightmare. They have annotated it, they've gone through it, it's really well written, but it is pretty heavy. We do go into some heavy themes, some shall we say, darker themes, you know. There's a bit of light in here as well, and a bit of comedy, but it's mostly darkness. It's mostly somebody dealing with some rubbish. So, it is Friday, and so I'm thinking we're all in a good mood enough that we're able to handle this right now, which is why I've saved it for a Friday. So, if you're up for that right now, on a drive home, or you're doing some work, and you want to just listen to a hobby dude rend his heart out there, and get into a really in-depth story, and get some good advice, hopefully, then, you know, stick around. As you're making dinner, as you're driving home from work, or you're finishing off some work for the weekend, or doing whatever it is you're doing right now. If you want to stick around, stick around. But if you don't, you want to save this for another time, then it's completely up to you. But yeah, there is your content warning, okay? Alright, on with the show. This is from the Pirate King. So thank you very much for sending this, Pirate King. You've clearly put in a lot of work into this, and, you know, you have nothing but my utmost respect for the stuff that you've put into this thing. Anyway. He says, Part 1. There are two parts to this story. Part 1. To the glorious Lord Exile of the Midlands. My family's from Glasgow, so I can be a bit cheeky there. Geographical dick-waving aside, I wanted to thank you so much for making a crisis inbox. Especially for people like myself, who feel scared, unsure of where to go next, and just need some fresh eyes on their situation. Let's treat this like an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. And you, our very own Grey Knights leading Gordon Ramsay. I like that. I like that. The amount of people that I love you all, but the amount of people of you that I wanted to hold two bits of bread either side of your head and go, what are you? You're a fucking idiot sandwich, is beyond reproach right now, to be honest with you. Anyway. I've been a fan of your channel since your early Games Workshop stories, and I've binged nearly every video you've made, cheers man, including your Fireside podcasts. I'm so proud of you for pulling yourself together after everything you went through in America, for finding your voice path and taking the time to make all of us smile, and not feel so alone in a world that at times doesn't give a damn about something until it's lost it. Oh, cheers dude, and you know what? Don't ever think that I don't see that, you know, whenever people send me emails saying, you know, thanks and stuff, it really does make my day, so, you know, it makes me want to do better. And the reason why I've been often asked, like, cause I've got editing software now, and editing's not that difficult. In fact, it doesn't take that long to do, now that I've actually been trying to do it. But what I will say is not editing allows me to do more of these videos a week, and I'd rather do 5, because I get quite a lot of emails, and I don't want to leave anyone out, especially if you need help, you know? Anyway. And as an up-and-coming content creator / performer, it's been inspiring to see your channel grow, your Masters community, and the good you've done with it. Cheers, man. The hobby has been a part of my life since my 12th birthday, and come to think of it, was the one thing that's always been there for me, no matter what happened, and a lot has happened. But it was also the cause, or target, for endless bullying, ridicule, and hatred from my peers, my family, and myself. In a way, it's the perfect lens for us to look back on my life, a kid from a broken home, who was just trying to find his voice, but was chastised and shamed for everything he ever did. Well, that sounds pretty horrid, to say the least. It all started when a distant family member, more on her later, brought me a bucket load of Lord of the Rings minis. including the Old Mines of Moria set and the Battle for Skull Pass starter set for Warhammer Fantasy. Wow, dude, that's a lot of money she's dropped on you there, that's cool. She also threw in a Citadel paint set, clippers, brushes, and a copy of a 2006 Christmas White Dwarf. Dude, hit the mother load. This featured an awe-inspiring 8,000 point siege battle report where the Dark Elves took on a Bretonnian castle, resulting in one hell of a bloodbath. If you know, you know. I even got taken to a local games workshop for a Lord of the Rings themed games day, where we had to defend the city of Osgiliath against wave after wave of orc attacks, and then settled into a chilled painting class. A class where I learned absolutely nothing, and slapped goopy, crayon-like chunks of unthinned paint onto poor Boromir's face. By the end of it, he looked more like a background character from a Gumby cartoon than a noble defender of Gondor. Oh, and the less said about my snot-green caked night goblins, the better. And I do mean snot. Oh no. It was the perfect 12th birthday. A pity I hated myself so much I could barely enjoy it. Wow, dude, at 12? At 12, that's some heavy shit. All this was to the chagrin of my family. Even though it gave me events to attend, expanded my friend group at school, and swelled both my imagination and love of storytelling, to them it was nothing more than a waste of time, money, and a complete drain on society. Yes, society, that's what they said. I think that's why this distant relative bought me such a big haul. She was the black sheep of a very conservative, mentally unhinged family. A metalhead goth who reads comics and 80s dark fantasy, whose favourite film was Labyrinth, had a priceless collection of Necrons and vampire counts, and whose house looked more like a nerd pop culture store back when being a nerd wasn't cool. When she realised we had shared interests, she was probably looking to get her own back. Wow. Wow. Dude, how old... One, I've got a few questions, right? Number one, how old is this woman? Number two, is she single? Or, I'm totally asking for a friend. I'm not asking as a... to be fair, she's probably really old. But, if she's not old, and she's MILF-ish, hook her brother up. Just saying, just pass my details. Anyway, moving on. I should probably mention this distant relative was my mother. What? Alright, I take it back. I take it back. I apologise. I take it back. Shit. I should have read that next line before I went in there. Well, if you're looking for a stepdad, you could do a lot worse, son. You could do a lot worse. Anyway, I grew up with my grandparents. Okay. Grandpa was a curious, jovial Scotsman with a great sense of humour and a natural storyteller. Aren't all good grandpas natural storytellers? That's the one thing I really miss about mine. Well, he's still here, obviously. He's still alive, thank the Lord, or whatever. But yeah, recently, as he's gotten older, he's lost the wherewithal to tell great stories about his past and stuff. In fact, I remind him of stories that he's told me, just so he'll tell me them again, and because it'll flicker like a recognition in his brain, and he'll tell the story again. Anyway, he was very supportive and gave me my love of fantasy, sci-fi, and cinema. In fact, one of my earliest memories is Grandpa reading The Hobbit to me as a bedtime story on a snowy night while we visited a family in Glasgow. He then showed me the Ralph Bakshi animated Lord of the Rings, where the ring wraiths dominated my nightmares for years to come. The Weathertop scene in that film is brutal. Yeah, I rented that from Blockbuster back in the day. It was very surprising how brutal it was. My grandma and my Australian family was anything but. To be fair, she tried her best when raising me, but she was a very mentally unwell lady, and in fact everyone on my Australian side could do with a decade of therapy. Instead, they took all their problems out on a certain humble narrator. She and everybody on the Australian side hated my grandpa and mother, calling them lazy, leeching know-it-alls who offer nothing to the world. And the fact my mother ended up pregnant with me after a bender that would make a space wolf wince when she was 16, that just made things even better for them. They considered me a walking abortion, and I needed to justify my existence. I'm not being figurative, by the way. I actually had to justify my right to be alive ever since I learned how to speak. Grandma was determined I not be another mistake, quote unquote. Yeah, man, you're suffering for your rebelliousness, the rebelliousness of your mother, definitely. A very similar thing happened with my sister, and my mum, basically. So my mum was quite rebellious when she was younger, you know, and she butted heads with my grandmother quite a lot. And so when my sister was born, after me, obviously, I was always like Jesus Christ to my grandma, like walked on water. I couldn't do any wrong. Whereas she really, really, really argued with my sister and put her down a lot, as if she was punishing my younger sister for my mum's rebelliousness. It does happen. It definitely does happen. I was quite lucky. My grandpa was very down the middle. You know what I mean? He was very fair. But when I lost my grandma, that was a huge knock to me, because it felt like one of my main allies in the family had disappeared. You know, I know it's bad saying allies and stuff, but everybody rallied around my sister because she would get the worst of it from my grandma. You know, and it was kind of obvious who her favourite was. And so they rallied around her, but what people didn't really get was, I may be the favourite of my grandparents, but as soon as my grandma's gone, now I'm on my own, and everybody's rallied around my sister. Do you know what I mean? And it's taken about a decade since. My grandma died in 2000 and... not even a decade, talking about 6-7 years, yeah. So my grandma died in 2016, and it's taken up until last year, for things to kind of, you know, even out in terms of family. But even now, whenever my sister visits and, you know, my parents are there, they're all over her, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I'm always the butt of every joke, sort of a thing. And I'm kind of used to it now, and my self-esteem is strong enough to the point where I just shrug it off and I give it back to them, and I just don't give a shit, sort of a thing. So it's working much better now. But for a while there, yeah, you know, it creates a toxic cycle, you know. Anyway, moving on. After all, how else would I make up for what my mother did? Grandma hated me reading fantasy, watching TV, going to the cinema with Grandpa, which was one of my favourite things to do, and playing computer games. And if I ever complained, she would either get physically violent, threaten that she'll abandon me, or lock herself in her room and cry for hours on end about how I was failing her and turning out just like that woman, referring to my mother. Oh my god. Jeez. As I grew up, I stumbled, quite literally, onto what I was passionate about, performing and storytelling. Specifically, acting, writing and filmmaking. Poor bastard. Yeah, you're either going to be really poor or really rich. One of the two, man. I wouldn't just watch movies, I'd study them. I'd pour through behind-the-scenes extras, always have a book in my hand, write terrible stories, including an entire fantasy novel that'll never see the light of day, and making god-awful short films with Lego stop motions. Without my own film crew, I used Grandpa's video camera that I'd nicked from his room, much to his dismay. Dude, if I walked in and found my son doing stuff like that, I would be over the moon. Can you imagine walking in and your kid is doing a stop-motion film? Dude, how cool would that be? Nurture that shit. Nurture that. There's a career in that. As you can imagine, Warhammer was perfect for me, yes. And its influence fed directly into my acting and cinema passions. Well, that's good, that's good. Things aren't going too badly at this point in time. I noticed the stories I'd write or the characters I'd play in theatre productions grew deeper and a lot more complex the more I read and explored the lore of fantasy and Warhammer 40,000. In fact, some of the best actors I've worked with were also into the hobby. Their imaginations and grit were just on a whole other level, and they were a lot more willing to make complex backstories for their characters with me. I'm curious if anyone else is in creative fields has noticed this. By now, my friends and I moved on to 40k's 4th edition, and it was here I found my true hobby calling, the Imperial Guard. I adore history, with the 17th to 20th centuries being my favourite period. so I needed those lemon russes and basilisks in my face yesterday. I built a sizable collection from the money I'd earned from, of all things, busking on the weekends and winning music competitions. Oh yeah, I play the Highland bagpipes. I'm half Scottish, what can I say? Dude, if you're winning competition... I'll stop stopping because this is a long one. By now, I was all in on the lore, reading the books, playing the games, and hoarding every White Dwarf I could. I even created an entire backstory for my 88th Cadian Rifles and their Black Templar allies, my second 40k love. I played every couple of weeks at slumber parties with my friends, or the odd local tournament. Every day at school, we'd gush about the vast scope of 40k, swap stories from the lore we'd read, and make very early internet memes, including a comic strip of a tactical marine replacing the chapter master's power sword with a plastic lightsaber, a mental image that still lives with me, that still leaves me in stitches to this day. We also used to create our own 40k characters and roleplay them as in rudimentary RPG games during class. When the teacher wasn't looking, we'd pass a blank sheet of paper to each other, write down a line or perform an action in character, and continue until everybody ganged up on someone and took them out with a bolt rifle, orbital bombardment, or psychers conjuring bottomless pits into the warp. I wonder if anyone else did this. I mean, that sounds like an incredibly in-depth thing to do, man. You seem like a very complex and creative person. My kind of guy. In fact, here's a quick hobby nightmare from back then that I think you'll get a kick out of. I'd never win a game, like ever. Be it a 2,000 point 5-way free-for-all, try saying that 5 times faster, nope. Or a quick bout of Kill Team. I was certain it was my fault. My self-esteem was in the gutter from my home life, and my friends definitely gaslit me in retrospect. And after every game, our leader, who we'll call Dave, because I love hearing you say that name, would put his arm around me, sweep his hand to the heavens and declare, "What you're doing wrong is you only come up with a plan. What we do, however, is improvise a plan every turn as the game goes on. Our minds are always working and reacting to what happens on the board. You need to get good enough to do the same." Then he'd pause, flick me on the nose and chuckle, "Clearly, you haven't reached that level of tactical ability. It's not surprising you wouldn't even win a game of Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Dude, this guy seems like an absolute piece of shit. Yeah, I don't care how old he is. I'd protest. Well, how could I? We were playing hot seat and you kept switching my turn and taking notes. Sad, Dave would say, cutting me off. Just sad. In hindsight, I realised that not only were we playing on a giant open board with barely any terrain, but Dave, who played Ultramarines, of course, would coerce everybody into ganging up on me. And considering the second in command of our group played Tau, was a terrible winner, and always deployed right beside me, I think you can guess where this is about to go. Okay, I'm gonna skip that bit because it just goes into another bit of a hobby nightmare. But anyway, right. I don't want to like go into how toxic your friends were because, you know, horrid. Okay, moving on. Right, back to the program. You can probably see where I'm getting at here. Between games that I liked, that I just described, pouring through the Gaunt's Ghost series, and playing Dawn of War's excellent campaigns, the hobby wasn't just an escape for me. It was keeping me alive. Over the years, life at home got worse. My grandparents never stopped fighting, and it wasn't just verbal. Grandma used to threaten Grandpa with a knife at least once a week, and she even pushed him through a window, as in through solid glass, whilst I was eating dinner. When they weren't killing each other, they tried to turn me against the other. Grandpa insisting, "She's brainwashing you against me," and Grandma saying, "I'm turning into him, lazy, leeching, better off dead." Oh my Jesus Christ. When I got older and asked Grandma why they stayed together, she said, "It was to give you a normal life." My Australian family hated me for that. Jesus, dude. The horrid thing is, right? The horrid thing is, I know this is true. The reason why I know this is true is because this is all clicking into place far too well. There is a horrible kind of logic to the way that they're treating you. I'm not saying it as in they're right. They're wrong. They're completely wrong. You know, this is toxic, horrid behaviour. But I can see where the logic goes with somebody whose brain isn't working properly. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're all saying, like, you're the product of this nasty person who's done bad things to them, and you're now the reason why these two people have to stay together when they'd be far happier apart. Yeah, okay, I get it. Right? I get why they're losing it, you know? Again, not justifying their horrid behaviour, but, you know. Grandma always said that I'd become either a dustman, garbage man for those in the US, or a homeless drug addict. What's wrong with being a garbage man? They get paid a lot of money. Like, garbage collection dudes get paid a lot of money. That's a good career. If I pursued anything I wanted to pursue, no matter how hard I worked. I'll never forget when I was flicking through some uni pamphlets and looking over an acting course at the VCA, a prestigious drama school in Australia. Grandma snatched the pamphlet out of my hands and yelled, "Don't you dare do anything like that, ever. You will end up in a gutter." Dude, I'm going to get so pissed off reading this. Because Again, I've had a very mild case of this. Of, you know, parents saying, "Oh, you can't do that, it's too hard." You know what I mean? Or, "That's fine, but how to make you money?" That kind of a thing. Yeah, And so began my ingrained belief that no matter how hard I worked at something, if it was anything I found interesting or meaningful, it was shameful, and would amount to nothing. Grandpa tried to help by taking me out to local acting workshops, reading anything I'd write, and even getting me in touch with some literary and acting agents. But all this was aggressively shut down by Grandma, and laughed at by my Australian family. "You want to be on TV? What, you think you're better than us? Or you want to be on the West End? Pfft, better get in line then." Yeah, this sounds familiar. This sounds familiar. Not as extreme, but I've had family members who've done this with me. Yeah. And I bet there are a lot of people listening to this who are getting quite a cathartic, "Oh my god, that's me as well." Jeez. "I felt like a square peg being forced into a round hole." That's a good way of putting it, man. Good way of putting it. That I was someone who could do something, but it was worthless and selfish to pursue it. Dude, there's nothing worse than being made to feel guilty for just taking time for yourself. There's nothing worse. It's so hard to get over. It's so hard to shut your brain off and just have a break. You know, I've only started doing that, actually switching my brain off and having a break, since I've been doing therapy. One thing I've realised through therapy is that in the past I played video games, but I'd play them all of the time. But you know why I played them all of the time? Not because I'm lazy, but because I wasn't getting my money's worth out of it. I wasn't feeling relaxed. I wasn't feeling fulfilled by doing it. Why? Because I couldn't switch my brain off, and I felt guilty for even starting to play the game in the first place. Nowadays, I don't feel guilty. I switch my brain off and tell the world to go fuck itself for 2 or 3 hours. I get my 2 or 3 hours of gaming in, and I'm done for the night. I'm done. I'm like, "Oh, that was great, that." And I'll get up and I'll do something more productive. Because I've had my time now. Back in the day, I'd be gaming for 6 hours and I'd get nothing out of it. Because I'd feel guilty the entire time. There is a lot of, you know, of stuff to be said for actually giving yourself a break and enjoying the things that you enjoy for 2, 3, 4 hours a day, and then going on and doing other things. I swear, try it once. Try doing it once. Be determined and say, "No, I'm going to try this once. I'm going to play video games for 2 or 3 hours and switch my brain off." Right? I'm only going to do it the once and see if it works. And I bet you it does. I bet you play games for 2 or 3 hours and then get bored. Because you've invested your entire, mind into it. You're not feeling bad about being there. You're enjoying it. And you've enjoyed it for 2 or 3 hours, and then you go, "You know what, I'm going to go make dinner, or I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go watch a movie, or I'm going to go do some work, or I'm going to go do some studying." You will do that. Trust me, you will. You will. Right. Moving on. "I thought because I was an accident, quote unquote, nothing I did could ever amount to anything. I just wasn't meant to be here, you know? The world would be better off without me, and by existing, I was getting in the way of everybody else." Yeah, man. It didn't help that the small town I grew up in was rough. Obviously, I was bullied like most people. Yeah, a lot of people are in the hobby. It is an ongoing epidemic, unfortunately. I was bullied like most people, but I also got into a lot of fights, being raised by a stubborn Scotsman who encouraged me to punch bullies in the face. Trouble is, it never worked for me, and I really don't know why. No matter how I was provoked, I'd always end up the one in trouble, and the kids who bullied me would always hit me back harder and in groups, or go straight to the teacher. And the bloody teachers. They'd gaslight me for not being social enough or being a bother to all the other kids, even though I never had a problem being social outside of school. Thank God for the hobby. I even remember once on a long school trip, nearly the entire class in front of the teacher declared how much they hated me, and I quote, wished I would just die. When I asked why, nobody could even give me an answer better than, because you're you. The teacher pointed to them and said to me, see, you are the problem, everybody does hate you. I know this is why I sound like I'm describing a bad young adult novel, but I don't know how else to put it. It happened. I assure you, it happened. Everybody genuinely hated my guts in that town, and I clearly have no idea why. Okay, I've got an idea why. Alright, so, number one, whatever goes on with your grandparents, right, will carry on. If it's a small town, a lot of people in that town will know what's going on with your grandparents and how much, you're a problem child, quote unquote. Number two, if you don't sit there and take it like a good boy, and you actually have the temerity to respond to these people in kind and bully them back, you're even worse. You're the bully now, right? So they're justified in hating you from their point of view, right? That's why they're doing shit like that. A teacher saying that to you, I hope they were drowned in the sea. I'm not even being diplomatic. Not throw them in the sea. I hope they were thrown in the sea, in a bin, and it was chained shut, and they were just thrown in there and left to drown. That, if you are in a position of power as a teacher, and you have ever done anything like this before, go fuck yourself. You are the worst. You are absolutely the worst. Okay? You're in a position of power. Be very, 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 very careful. Right? And again, I had it ages ago where if you're talking amongst friends, right? If you're a teacher and you're talking amongst friends, and you're saying, God, I hate these kids. They really annoy me. And I did it once on a channel. Where I said, oh, my God. I love telling them they can't go to the toilet. Because they just fucking annoy me so much. Right? Because they'll walk the halls and they'll end up getting sacked because they're walking the halls. Now, there may be a lot of truth to that. I'm told you can't let them go to the toilet whilst they're in class. I'm sorry, they've got 15 minutes. They've got 5 minutes between classes, every single class, to go to the toilet. Unless they've got a doctor's note, or they're clearly not feeling well, or something's really, really, really wrong, you can't let them go because we need to know where they are at all times. They could just walk off school premises, and we wouldn't know where they are. And then we are in big fucking trouble, So that's why you say no, but there's also times when you need to make sure that your anger towards kids is not coming out in the classroom. Don't do it. Do not do it, because you don't know where it's coming from, okay? You don't know where it's coming from. Again, with the going to the toilet thing, if you're pretty sure the kid's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, there are very good ways to get over that. My main one to use is, are you literally going to wet yourself? Or are you literally ill? Do you have some sort of urinary problem, or are you not struggling to hold it in? Most teenagers will not admit to that in front of their friends unless it's actually happening. Okay? You'll get the odd one, but the odd one slipping through the net is fine. I don't care. You want to leave, fine. It makes my class easier, because normally they're causing trouble anyway. But if they do admit it, something is wrong, you let them go, right? If they don't, because 90-odd% of the time they're like, no, well, sit there then and shut up, right? Shut it. Get on with it. You had 5 minutes before we started the lesson. You will have 5 minutes at the end to go. Shut up, right? Don't ever take it out on kids in the classroom. This is probably one of the most evil things I've ever read. Literally. Because somebody saying this in actual real life is by the by. It's by the by. somebody being in a total place of sense, and what I mean by that is, Pirate King here will look at the teacher and go, well, this person, they will trust the teacher's judgment, right? And if the teacher's judgment is, you're not worth living, wow. Wow. I'm surprised you're still here, Pirate King, in all honesty. It shows a lot of bloody strength that you are here. So fuck this person. Hope they burn in hell. So. Alright. Years passed, and tensions at home were at their worst. Grandpa suggested I go to boarding school as a way of claiming back a bit of my independence, and I jumped at the idea. Whilst there, I didn't have anybody to play 40k with, but I kept collecting and painting, filling out the 88th Rifles and bolstering my Black Templars detachment. Then Grandpa moved out. Yeah, he's moved out because he doesn't need to be with your grandma anymore, obviously. And Grandma got diagnosed with cancer. As she deteriorated, I spent huge chunks of school time back at home nursing her. Oh my god. How do you not resent this woman? I completely would. This was when I really started hating myself. I remember grabbing a picture of myself that was taken on my Warhammer-filled 12th birthday and screaming at the kid to stop being lazy, stop playing with toys, and do something useful. I ignored how hard I'd worked at my creative and performing skills, but then again, I was taught those things weren't worth pursuing. Grandma was delighted that I hated my past self and said, "It's good you're so angry, you're facing up to your demons, and will start living properly." Okay, no play, just work. And working only on the right things, only that would make up for how much she slaved over me, what that woman did to her, and justify my right to exist. This was when I started getting rid of all of my video games, my film collection, and my books. I was turning into a shell. Grandma passed away in my last year of school. I stayed away from Grandpa and my mother because I had been turned against them. So my Australian family swept in for the kill. Their objective? To get your humble narrator back in line. While at university, they dedicated themselves to breaking me down and building me back up to what was valuable in their eyes. And as mentally unwell Grandma was, she was nothing compared to my aunts and uncles. She even warned me on her deathbed that they were coming to get me. Her words, not mine. Firstly, they talked me into selling all of my miniatures. Nearly all. I managed to hide a Basilisk, a few heavy weapons teams, and a Black Templars Marshal in my luggage. They sold the house I grew up in, and threw out most of my belongings. They furiously argued with me about my life choices, saying nothing I was doing at uni was real work, because it was academic and in the arts, and Uncle, who I lived with for a bit, always said I was doing nothing and on a holiday, while I wrote essays and studied, and insisted I didn't even have the right to sleep because other people have to work down the mines. Dude, what the fuck? I can't do much more of this. I can't read much more of this, never mind people listening to it. Nothing against you, man. Nothing against you. But this had better pick up. I mean... Okay. I'm gonna leave the last bit here. Okay? Because this is just getting really, really, really bad in terms of self-loathing and things. So, I'm gonna move on to part 2. Okay? Because this is, I'm gonna read the last bit of part 1. Because, you know... Okay. Right, we're halfway there. Have a sip of tea, adjust your audio, and get comfortable. Because it's time to talk about my 8-year relationship, my fiancée, my now ex. I'll keep it brief for time's sake, but it's still important to touch on to give you a full picture of where I am now. Plus, this was when the hobby stormed back into my life, as boy, did I need it. Okay, cool. We're going to see some positives. Great. So, as I said, we were together for 8 years. This is of course after university, after all that has happened, right? This relationship was awesome until the last 3 of those 8 years. We met in a theatre production and became each other's first serious relationship. I was 20 and she was 19. For context, she virtually had to force herself onto me to kick off the relationship. Thanks to my baggage, I genuinely didn't believe that anybody, especially somebody like her, would be interested in me in any way. How wrong I was. Yeah, this is what it takes, dude. Yeah, for a guy who's as broken as you were, you know. A lot of you out there will be listening to this thinking, yeah, this kind of sounds familiar. Yeah, a lot of you guys are broken people. And I hope you're seeing the veneer now. I hope by reading this story, we are seeing past that veneer of this person's been... We are obviously dealing with a huge extreme here. Not a lot of you would have lived the life that Pirate King has. Because Pirate King has lived what I would describe as the worst case scenario. Okay? Everybody's turned against him. This is the worst case scenario. If this guy can get a girlfriend, I'm just saying. Right? Moving on. Everybody agreed that we were the perfect couple. And we both knew it. We were on the same page about everything. Had the same goals, values, aspirations, dreams, direction, and everything you could ask for in a relationship. We were also both damaged goods, quote unquote. And while some might argue that it'd lead to toxicity, at the beginning we'd agreed we'd use it as a map of everything not to do. Brilliant. We would communicate, have empathy, keep an open mind, be patient and considerate, and for the first 5 years, that's exactly what we did. She was even the perfect nerd girlfriend. At 10 in terms of looks, being an actor herself as you can imagine, a fit 5'8" Eastern European brunette, and was intelligent, curious, and had a wit sharper than a mastercrafted power sword. Jesus, dude. You fell on your feet. Sometimes too sharp for her own good. In fact, I'd eventually found out the way women bully, especially those who've been beaten at an all-girls school, can be crueler and cut deeper than a Dark Elder having a bad day. But that's enough foreshadowing for now. She was huge into video games, board games, and even got into 40k with me when I finally let myself have at it again. She collected Sisters of Battle and Necrons, and was actually the one to encourage me back into it. Painting and playing games of Kill Team were one of our favourite ways to spend time together. Shout out to couples. Get into Kill Team. Then she got a job in Japan. A job I encouraged her to go for, by the way. And she literally would not have shown up for the interview if I hadn't pushed her to try for it. Okay. And, as cliche as it sounds, as soon as she landed overseas, she changed. Or at least, a part of her I'd never seen before suddenly, viciously, tore through the woman I'd fallen for, and was here to stay. Here's the spark notes. I'm 99% sure she cheated on me whilst in Japan. I heard this from her co-workers, though she viciously denied it, and still does to this day. She'd get irritable whenever we'd Skype call, she'd disappear for days on end without messaging or calling me, once even ghosting me for a full 6 months. Whenever I'd visit, she'd swear, yell, and start fights over the smallest things. Context, we never used to fight, like, at all. All that communication and trust that was there, overnight, shut off. She could be very cruel too, and she was good at it. She once said she felt embarrassed to have me around her new friends, and that she'd wasted her youth on me, even though 1, all of her friends got along with me like a house on fire, and I'm still in touch with most of them, and 2, I always did everything I could to support her and her choices. Right, okay, so, number 1. It sounds to me, hallelujah, you're growing a backbone here, right, because you've kept her friends. Good. Good, right? I'm also fairly certain this person cheated on you. I'm fairly certain. Here's the thing. And I don't think it's just about women, okay? I'm sure men do it as well, but I've never dated a man, so I can't really go into this. Ladies, if you're in the comments, let me know, right? Or all of the 3 ladies who actually watch this channel, let me know if you've ever been with a guy who's turned this quickly, okay? Because every single time I've heard a story like this, it's been the woman completely doing an about-face and personality. Normally, this happens when they get a better option. This sounds really horrible. I know. But this is where we are, okay? A good person wouldn't do this, of course. But some people, they're very, very, very good at treating you like a king when you're pulling them out the gutter. When you're pulling them out the gutter and you're fixing them and you're helping them, they're all for you. They are your person. They're really happy. As soon as they're now fixed and mended, and they can now attract someone better, quote unquote, than you, you're done. You're gone. You are not worth the shit on the end of their shoe. It does happen, and I think it's happened here. I'm not saying that she's better than you. I'm saying she thinks she can get better than you. She can't, but she thinks she can. Right? Alright, moving on. When I moved to Japan to join her, a necessity during Nurgle's plague of 2020, things only got worse. More fights, outbursts, that I was smothering her just by being in the same room, and changing personalities between being alone with me and when we were out with friends. She criticised me for earning less than her, even though we were both performers, so she knew the work ebbed and flowed. She would lash out with things like, "It's no wonder you don't have any fucking friends," after I tried to communicate to her that I felt uncomfortable with something one of her friends said to me that day. Her mental health for some reason was plummeting, and she'd talk endlessly about this rage she was feeling whenever she was around me, but couldn't douse. I found her therapist, and whilst at first he helped with her baggage, she continued to take every imperfection of her life out on me, her number one fan and supporter. Yeah, dude, there is a very, very, very good reason why we say we hurt people we love the most straight away, okay? There's a very, very, very good reason that is a saying. Anyway, when she was in a really bad mood, she'd roar at me in my face, as in a primal animalistic roar, before throwing things at me, grabbing my wrist and twisting them painfully backwards if I tried to stop her or calm her down. She would stay up really late and then blame me for letting her self-harm in that way. I remember once, after having my own pretty bad mental health day, I made us late for and miss a pretty important appointment. When this happened, she locked herself in our wardrobe and howled like a banshee into her clothes whilst punching herself in the face. Yeah, okay, dude, this is clearly a very well-adjusted woman that you should really stay with. Why are you still in the fucking relationship? Leave. Alright? I am totally aware, as you've made it very clear, the shit you've gone through in the past. But even somebody with your baggage and your past experiences should have a shred of common sense to fuck this woman off. And I swear to you, if you love this woman and you care for this woman, casting her off and telling her to get the fuck out of your life is the best way to make sure that she either bucks up her ideas or is never heard from you again, in one way or the other, right? But I'm telling you now, if you'd have fucked this woman off and left, I'd give it like 3 or 4 months before she's back. And then it's up to you whether you decide, hey, do you want to be here and work on yourself, or do you not want to work on yourself? Anyway, when I tried to come in and stop her, she sprung at me like a dog, pointed at me and screamed, "You did this, you, nobody else but you." Then she ran out of the apartment, yelling at me to let her die, and threatening she'd jump in front of a bus. Well, this happened on more than one occasion. Dude, why are you with this person? I feel like headbutting the screen. Once she even suggested murder-suicide. Dude, that was the closest thing to hell I think I've ever experienced. For reasons still beyond me, I was suddenly the villain in her life. She once said, "When I'm around new people, like in Japan, everything is so exciting and new, and there's so much potential. I'm flying. Then I think of you, and I'm like, ugh, I'm trapped." Dude, take the fucking hint. Take the hint. I'm getting annoyed, and I'm getting, curt with you, because at some point you need to help your fucking self. I'm sorry. This is enough now. A fucking monkey. A monkey would look at this and go, yeah, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, right? And an animal would look at this and go, that's a bad person, and leave. Why are you still with this person? The only reason I can sense is because she's the only good thing that you've had, shard of good that you've had in your life, and you're holding on to it for dear life. You're holding on to it. You're just like, oh, I can't let this go, because if I let it go, that's the only bit of light I've got, and I can't go back to what I was when I was with my family. I get that, but fuck me, dude. Wow. Wow. Right. She painted me as this conservative, boring drain on her life, who wanted her to return to Australia and settle down. None of that was true. I would constantly ask her what she wanted, communicate what I wanted, and try to work it out as a team. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't perfect, but damn it. I'm going to take what little strength I have left and stand up for myself. I always tried, but that stopped being good enough for her. Well, dude, here's where you're wrong. You're not standing up for yourself. You're not standing up for yourself. You're giving her ammunition. You're giving her her punching bag. That's what you're doing. You're not standing up for yourself. You know what standing up for yourself in this situation looks like? Changing the locks and telling her to fuck off and piss off and get out of your life. Or booking a flight back to Australia and being like, yeah, see ya, swivel, see you later, bye, gone, done, see ya. Or apply for a job in another country where you can get a job and you get citizenship. I'm fairly certain you can get one in the UK if one of your grandparents was from over here, right? Apply for something in Scotland. Go see your roots. Hey, and I'm telling you now, if you want a woman who will sort you out, find yourself a sound, ginger, Celtic woman. They will sort you out, mate. Trust me, right? What you should have done, if you really are standing up for yourself, put a contingency plan in place and get the fuck out of there. This is the angriest I've been with somebody who's the victim for a long time. For a long time. This is infuriating. Okay? You are not being strong here. You're giving her what she wants. Her punching bag. Her kickstool. Alright? Alright. The reason why I'm saying this to you in this way, by the way, because I know there will be hobby people out there who are listening to this thinking, fuck, I'm in a similar situation. Do what I've told you to do. Alright, moving on. There was still plenty of good in the last 2 years. You could have fucking fooled me, dude. I had an enormous breakdown in 2021 when all the childhood trauma I described at the start came home to roost. She paused her entire life to take care of me. She kept me from suicide, got me a team at the city hospital to work with me, and helped me become an inpatient. It was there I was diagnosed with depression, OCD, complex PTSD, and psychosis. No shit. No shit. When I got out, I was medicated, working with a psychoanalyst, Freudian techniques, and on the path to understanding myself better than ever before. Brilliant. But instead of being pleased to see me recovered, my ex decided to throw me under the bus one more time. In our last year together, after all I'd gone through in and out of the hospital, she forced me into an open relationship, saying if I didn't go along with it, she'd leave me on the spot. Fucking... Sorry. I'm back. Sorry, I need to take a moment. Ugh. Oh, calm down. Let's all take a moment. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Alright. On we go. Oh. Right. Do I even need... If you've seen my videos before, do I even need to go into why this is bullshit? Not bullshit as in it didn't happen. I can firmly believe it happened. But bullshit as in, like, why you shouldn't have done this. Like, do I need to go into it? I will. I'm going to read on for a little bit and then I'll circle back to this. Alright? Okay. Alright. This is her, I'm guessing, speaking next. It makes sense as a lifestyle. I don't want to have sex with you, and this is why. I'm turned on by people who are doing amazing things with their lives, and that's not you anymore. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. That's shot me in the heart, and I'm not even doing it with me. Jesus Christ. Interjection from your narrator. Ah yes, because it wasn't as if I just had a horrendous breakdown and needed to spend 2 weeks of my life as an inpatient at the hospital, and was now on the road to recovery. Right, dude, okay, right. I've done loads of videos on why open relationships are a bad idea. And why, you know, in general, pansexual relationships, not pansexual relationships, you know what I'm saying. They're just not a good idea. They're not a good idea, okay? Polyamorous relationships. Sorry, not pansexual relationships. Polyamorous relationships. They're not a good idea. In general. I'm not going to judge you if you're in one. God power to you. I hope you live your best life. But some of the most damaged men and women that I've come across, that I've known, have been in poly relationships at some point. And somebody always ends up getting hurt because somebody's always into it more than the other person. Okay? Now, forcing somebody into a polyamorous relationship is probably one of the most evil things you can do to another human being. You don't respect their self-worth, you don't respect their worth as a person. I hope you walk into traffic and get fucking run over. How's that? How's that? Okay, cool. Oh my god. And here's the other thing, and there you go. I am on your side, Pirate King, I'm on your side. But here's the other thing. And the other thing is quite harsh, so you need to bear with me. Alright? I'm going to switch the gameplay video up. This is the first time I've ever had to do this. I'm switching the gameplay video because I think you might get bored of seeing the same thing. Alright, this is going to sound really bad. Somebody in your position, in your role in life, in your part of life, right now, somebody in your position shouldn't be in a relationship. Okay? Now, that may seem harsh. That may seem very, very harsh. What I mean by that is, you have no business being in a partnership with somebody when you can't hold up your end of the bargain. Again, before you get heartbroken by that statement, just let me explain. Alright? To be in a relationship, you need to be at least on your way to being fully formed as a person who has a solid foundational confidence in yourself and in who you are and what you want. If you're not that person, you can't hold up your end of emotional baggage in a relationship. You can't. And eventually, the other person will leave. Or, if you've met a particularly evil and toxic person, as you have here, they will do this. They will do this. They will lose all respect for you. And because they're sociopaths, once they've lost all respect for you, they start to mistreat you. They start to mistreat you and abuse you very badly. You know what the tragic thing is? Most of them don't even realise they do it. Do you know why? You know why? Because you don't tell them. You don't tell them it hurts. Because you just want them around. Why? Because you need them. You don't want them. You need them because you're a broken person who's trying to fix the broken parts that are inside with somebody else's strength. Doing that never, ever, 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 ever works. Never works. You need to fix you with your own strength. And if you can't find the strength, get out the relationship. Simple as. Simple as. Okay? You shouldn't be in this relationship. I am not making excuses for her. Like your teacher, this is one of the most evil people I think I've ever read about. I despise her. I despise every fibre of it. And I legitimately think, from what you've said, two sides to every story, of course, but I legitimately think from what you've said, is that the only reason she aided in your healing is to make sure that she could have her kickstand back. Have her abuse dummy back. You know? When you're sitting in the fetal position, unable to continue, that's no fun. I can't break you down if there's nothing to break down. So she fixes you, makes you dependent again, and then away we go, right? Okay, so, moving on. She continued, I need to experience sex with other people. I had so many opportunities I could have taken over the years to do that, but I didn't to take them because of you. Dude, she's literally blaming you for not cheating on you. Why are you still with this person? I'm going to skip that interjection because it literally says what I've just said. When I protested against the open relationship, you'll bet your bottom dollar she brought up how she nursed me back to health for a full year, and I owed it to her to at least give it a try. I told her relationships don't work like that, that I also nursed her in Japan when she experienced her own series of breakdowns, and would gladly do so again. She didn't listen and left the ultimatum there, which stupidly I went along with. Well, at this point, dude, I can completely understand that you are that stupid, or that you at least were that stupid, and because again we've explained why you are going along with it, right? You're a broken person, or at least you were, and this is where you are, right? You're using somebody else's strength to fix your own, and rather than be abandoned to your memories and to find your own way in life, you're clinging on to this toxic life raft, even though the life raft has grown teeth and is biting you in the face. Okay? Right. Folks, listen up. This is Pirate King talking. I'm just going to say, right? I'm going to say, okay, women that I've come across who are very conservative who are very right-wing, tend to be extremely conservative. Almost toxically so, right? You're not allowed to go out and do anything. You're not allowed to really drink that much. You're not allowed to really do anything, right? Or go out with your friends, or they get very possessive, right? Whereas left-wing women tend to do shit like this. When I say left-wing, I mean like far right, far left. Far right people tend to be very controlling, right? Overly controlling, like they're very in your face and controlling you. Don't do this, don't do that, don't go here, don't go there, right? Whereas far left women tend to do this. Let's see if I'm right. But yeah, I may be completely wrong, right? I may not, I honestly, I may be completely wrong. But like, just from relationships that I've had, because I've dated all over the spectrum of politics, because I find people interesting and fascinating, and I like to talk to them about what makes them tick. And if you are very politically minded, obviously it is a big turn on to have somebody ask you what your thoughts are on things, and sit there and think about things. Those are the two types of toxicity. And of course there are exceptions to every rule, but those are the two types that I've come across. Very conservative women are very like, you will do this, and you will do that, and you will have this, and you will have that, and you will bend and do everything my way, and you'll acquiesce to my wishes and things, that kind of a thing. Whereas far left women tend to be manipulative and emotionally abusive. Like they're covert about it. Conservatives are overt, far leftists are covert. It's weird. I don't know why, but it tends to go that way. I've only ever had one polyamorous relationship brought up to me as well. It was from a woman who was very, very on the left, and that relationship ended there. So 3 dates in. Anyway, not really a relationship, but you know what I mean. So he says, folks, listen up. If your partner expresses wanting to try an open relationship and then breaks every rule you set, all of them, every single day, then walk away. You are worth far more than that, and if your partner can't see that, it's their problem, not yours. I agree with you to a point there, mate. No, you're kind of wrong. When they bring up an open relationship to you at all, walk. Leave. Because it's not you they want, mate. They want your brain. They want your strength. They want your safety net. But they don't want your dick. So take your dick and leave. That's what I should have done, he says. But I didn't hear that advice from you until literally days after the breakup. Well, that's not my advice, mate. You've twisted that advice there to make it your own thing. If they want to do an open relationship and then break every rule you set, no, mate. No, don't get into an open relationship. Don't. That's my advice. That's always been my advice. Don't get into an open relationship. Right? Unless you want one. If you want one, if you're one of those dudes and you want one, fine, have at it. If your partner brings it up, leave. Leave. Don't set rules. She's already broken the rules. She wants somebody else. Leave. Alright? That's what I should have done. Okay. If it wasn't obvious, yes. My ex broke all of our rules. She stayed over at other men's places, which we agreed we wouldn't do that. She prioritised seeing other men over time with me, which we agreed not to do. She jumped straight into having sex when I asked if we could take it one step at a time. And when I complained, she raged about how much she hated this and felt tied down. Dude, how are you not getting the fucking message? Dude. And ordered me to stop complaining. Look, like, I would never victim blame. But we were getting to the point. We were getting to the point where I'm like, dude, from here on in, right? None of this is your fault up until now. But it's your own fault you stuck around. It's your own fault you stuck around for this stuff. She shouldn't have done this to you, and I'm not blaming you for her behaviour. That's victim blaming, and that's bullshit. But mate, you sticking around is your own fault. She's given you more than enough to get the fuck out of there. Okay? Alright. Okay. And ordered me to stop complaining because she told me the truth, and that wasn't good enough. And that was good enough. Well, to be fair, that's the only time she's had a point. She has told you the truth. And that is good enough. Yeah. She's told you the truth, and it is good enough. It's fine. She was upfront with you, mate. She told you what she wanted. You should have walked and gone. You should have walked half an hour ago in this story. Okay? Alright. The idea of an open relationship came from her newest batch of friends. All of them were very left-leaning. Oh, yes! Were very left-leaning, very queer, had about 5 different pronouns each, and all at least 10 years younger than any of us. She got big into woke politics. I fucking love it when I'm right. Woke politics, a huge change from the savage, politically incorrect comedian I'd met a few years earlier. Yeah, mate, most people who are very, very, very politically incorrect, right, and will tell really racist jokes and shit off the drop of a hat, those people are like, literally, I would say, a little push away from falling right off the far right and going right onto the far left. Completely the other way, right? And same the other way around as well. Because they're morons. They're morons. That's what morons do. They parrot, right? They parrot and they find an identity in things. Rather than actually thinking about things, they supplant their own self-worth and identity with a political leaning, you know? Idiots. And yeah, this is why I don't respond to comments like that anymore in the comment section, because most of them are fucking morons. It's not worth. It's like talking to a fetus that's made of shit. You know, there's no point. You may as well just sidestep it, move on. You know, the best thing to say to them is, listen, I would debate you, but I don't think you have the intelligence to debate me back, so I'm not going to bother. Okay, cool, move on. Best thing to do. Anyway, most of her new friends didn't like me expressing I wasn't queer enough. And most of them straight up hated me because, in her words, you're a man. Oh. This is nihilistic. This is nihilistic. This is like really... I'm very sorry that you had to go through that, mate. I fucking called it, though. Listen, right, okay. Here's the thing. I would say I'm a left-leaning centrist. I would say, right? I'm an old-school left-leaning centrist. These days, I'd probably be defined as more of a conservative centrist. By the year 2023, you know? But in terms of like the 90s and the early 2000s, I'd be considered a left-leaning guy, you know? But I'm a centrist because I like to read everybody's ideas and take them in and then form my own opinions, okay? And I do vote. And I vote and I look at all the ideas and all of the arguments, and I make a judgment-based decision on who I think will do the best for my family, myself, and my friends, and my country, right? I think that's how everybody should vote. I don't think you should just vote because one's a Republican and one's Democrat, right? Okay, cool. Now you know what my leanings are, okay? It's the extremes of both sides that I fucking despise. I can't stand them, okay? I can't stand things like Proud Boys. I can't stand these uppity, know-it-all fucking conservatives that are on YouTube sometimes, who clearly feel like they know everything under the sun when they don't, when they've not lived a life, because how can you live a life and have experiences when all you've done is shout into a microphone and be married to one woman for the entirety of your life? I'm sorry, why should I take advice from you? I'm a very happy, self-actualized person, I would define myself as, you know? I'm getting there, my life's really good, I'm happy, and I've gone through some shit, you know? But I'm there, and I'm trying to help other people. I think more people like us should be saying a lot more people who are in the middle, who have dabbled in both sets of right wing, left wing, and I've gone, well, what do I want? I don't know. I'm going to be a centrist. And I'm going to see where I'm going to have my own brain. That's what I'm going to do. That's where I think we should be. Okay, just before anybody jumps down my throat and says you're anti-woke, you're this and that. Well, I am anti-woke, but I'm also anti-alt-right as well. You know, you're both fucking morons, and you should both get in the fucking sea. Okay, right? Okay, lovely. All right. People like that do exist. They're not just an internet meme. Yeah, no shit, man. And it all finally fell apart on a dark and stormy night. She promised to be home after work that night, where I cooked her favourite meal for her, dude, and set up a romantic dinner, dude, to show how much I recovered since being in the hospital. At the time, I thought she was pulling away because she thought I was too sick. Not that that should have been a problem, but still. I waited out front of a workplace with some donuts and a bunch of flowers. She didn't come out. I went back home and waited. She didn't return. No shit. The clock ticked on. 5:30 turned to 6:30, turned to 7:30, turned to 9. I think we all know what's going to happen here, folks. Finally, she replied to my messages, and let's call the prick she left me for, or my other favourite name. I'm at Mike's place, she texted, and I don't want to come back. This was then followed up with, I deserve this. I need to do something for me for once in my life, not for others. Okay. Yeah, mate, you've literally dodged the biggest bullet. Mike, my hat is off to you, sir. Let us say a moment of peace for Mike, and the absolute shitstorm, the nuclear weapon he has invited into his front room. Let us all salute Mike as he wanders into the sunset to take this bullet for the rest of us. Well done, Mike. Mike's done you a favour, mate. Mike's done you a favour, Pirate King. Mike was me on paper, but 10 years younger, taller, in his second year at uni, and according to my ex, was more chilled, more interesting, living a better life, and just better than you in every way. Okay, bye. More importantly, he wasn't on medication. In her view, I had no intention of ever getting off of it, despite only just starting. When I accused her of replacing me, she hit me with her go-to comeback. It's not about you. Come to think of it, Mike was exactly where I was when the two of us first met. Damn, I literally just realised that whilst typing this out. Thank you! Thank you! Pirate King has had his epiphany, ladies and gentlemen. He's come around. He's here. He's with us sane people. Brilliant. Brilliant. Let's salute Mike. Me and you, Pirate King, together. Put your hand on the screen, dude. Put your hand on the screen. Thank you, Mike, for taking that conniving, cheating, wanton bitch right off my hands. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Right? Lovely. Fantastic. Right, moving on. Oh, she called me a few days later whilst at Mike's and told me she was leaving me. This girl's too much, man. This girl is too much. I tried to get us to see a relationship counsellor. So what are you doing? What are you doing? Especially seeing as we were 8 years in, but she refused. Dude, I'm losing it with you, man. I was there with you. I'm losing it. She said, I'm not going to let you manipulate me again. I'm doing what's right for me. While in the background, I could hear Mike simping for her saying, I'll get on the phone for you and tell him to leave you alone if you want. I'll do it. Yeah, what a dude, man. Dude, he's trying to save you. To which she theatrically said, no, I must do this myself. As if she was facing up to an abusive ex or something. She then told me that when I proposed to her, her first thought was, hey, I guess this is the best I can do. And this was after 6 years at the time of giving her the fucking world. Dude, what did I just say at the start of this? Right? Somebody this toxic, who's just as broken as you, will be with you until they're fixed and they think they can get something more. Thank you for proving me right. Let's move on. 6 years into the relationship, nothing I did was ever good enough for her, and she wouldn't even allow me the dignity of admitting that. No, instead, she had to paint me as an abusive weight on her life. All of this to a #1 fan. That's the problem, dude. You're a #1 fan. That's the problem. That's the problem. After some all-nighters with some old school and gaming friends and sessions with a relationship therapist, I finally accepted that the relationship was abusive, something I struggle to admit to this day, and her insane perfectionism and fear of long-term commitments had simply won out. Dude, that felt good. I'm going to read that again. Oh, that felt good. After some all-nighters with some old school and gaming friends, shout out to those chads. Shout out to the chads. And sessions with the relationship therapist, another chad, I finally accepted that the relationship was abusive. Dude. Alright, I'm going to apologise. I'm going to apologise to you. As I said before, I was harsh on you there because I didn't know how this was going to end. I thought you might still be in that mindset, so I needed to be harsh. Clearly, you're out of it now. So, please take what I said as a comedic thing, as it was supposed to be, okay? Try not to take it to heart. I was still right, though. Something I struggle to admit to this day, and her insane perfectionism and fear of long-term commitments had simply won out, quote-unquote. Oh, that's like a salve. I saw this with how she would bunny hop from one friend to another the whole time we were together, always being focused on the next exciting thing, no matter how good the present was. Not that I'm against focusing on the future, but there's having big goals and moving to them, and then this fear of any sort of stable, long-term commitment. In fact, in hindsight, it really seemed I had swapped my grandma out for someone alarmingly like her, mentally unwell, gaslighting, and ruthlessly controlling. Oh, we're coming full circle. This guy's having all the epiphanies. Guys, if you've survived to this point of the video, this must feel so good. This feels like a really good back massage. Oh my god, get all those kinks out. Oh yeah. It was a fucking shame. We really could have been perfect together. No, you couldn't. And I'm trying to keep seeing it this way, rather than turning on myself. In fact, I want to avoid even grieving her, at least until I've set up my own life and sense of self-worth separate from her. Because after all that, I'm still bloody in love with the bitch. Dude, I'm gonna reach through this fucking screen. I'm gonna take you by the ears. I'm gonna just twist your ears. Just twist them. Just twist the ears. Then bring you really close. And give you a hug. But you didn't think that's where it was going. Being an inpatient and on my medication actually kind of prepared me for this in a way. I was able to not instantly start hating myself, and instead make plans to create a life better than before. Speaking to people helped me see the abusive side of things, and I'm making sure I am constantly talking about it to others, not in an exhaustive way, of course, so I don't slip back into my cycle of self-loathing. And now, I recently moved to Vancouver, Canada. Beautiful part of the world. Very nice. Very nice. I like the idea of that. Canadian girls as well. Yeah, some nice ones. Not just to get away from my ex, but also because this is where the film and TV industry is. I wanted to move here to pursue acting and filmmaking for years, but I wouldn't let myself. Now, I'm rebuilding myself from the ground up. I've started a YouTube channel, and I'm developing content for it right now. Well, send it to me, man. I'll promote it in the bottom of the video, or the next video. I'm making new friends. I'm street performing and doing freelance filmmaking to pay the bills. I found a local historical European martial arts club that I'm thinking of joining. Do it. Get that sword, dude. Imagine her face. And then just, down you go. I've set a goal to move to LA. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that bit. Don't do that bit. No. 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 I'm going to tell you right now, the way you are right now, in the broken state you are, rebuild in Canada, rebuild right where you are, don't move to LA. Alright? It's your life. That's my advice to you, though. I know a lot of people in LA, and none of them are happy. And nearly all of them are in fucking therapy. So please, please, as someone in your... I would never normally tell somebody what to do with their life, ever, Somebody in your situation, though, dude, who's been this harmed and hurt, moving to LA and getting in the film industry is the biggest self-detonation button you could press. Don't do that. You're doing really well where you are, and you are at risk of doing exactly what she did. Always wanting something different, something more, the next thing, to fix yourself. Be happy where you are. Smell the roses, look around. Vancouver is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Right? In the world. Stay there. Work on yourself. Be happy. Alright? That's what you need to do from now on. That's your homework. Forget LA. For at least 10 years. Forget LA. LA is for your 30s, man, when you've lived. And you've got the wherewithal and the contacts to make a go of it. Especially if you want to be behind the camera, right? That's the time. Right now, don't. Don't hit that self-destruct button, right? And most importantly, I bought a brand new stack of Black Templar and Imperial Guard miniatures. I'm doing everything I can to paint them up before going to the local club. They're pretty expensive to join though, and the miniatures I saved from my old family are right there, front and centre, albeit with new, much less eye-watering paint scheme. So, why am I writing to you in crisis? Well, fuck me, dude. I figured that we already were there. For starters, my ex won't stop messaging me on social media and email. And see, what did I fucking tell you? As soon as you leave, she'll come back. Dude, I need to stop being right. As soon as you leave and you cut off contact, she comes back. And she continually creates new email addresses to message me. For some reason, she's obsessed with having me still in her life as a friend, and I really don't understand why. The last I heard from her, she pulled the "we were together for 8 years, you can't ignore me" card, and even said she hadn't slept for 2 weeks for worrying about me so much, and that I was causing her life to spiral out of control. Good! Good! Good. Maybe that'll fucking teach her. If she was so desperate to have me out of her life as a partner, why in holy terror does she want to keep me as a friend? And when I told her I don't see her as a friend, only as either a partner who apologised and shown a desire to grow, or nothing at all, she was genuinely shocked. I've noticed this. I've noticed a lot of women seem to do this. Why? Okay, right, here we go. But I'll tell you. I'll come back to this in a sec. But most of all, I don't want to make the same mistakes as before. I got into a bit of trouble recently, and I know it's because of my old family in my head creeping back into my life. See, my very high dose of antidepressants ran out 3 weeks ago, and there was a screw up when transferring my prescription. I've been cold turkey off the meds for most of February, and thrown above, it hurt my progress. I ended up behind on rent because I was too sick to work. I've been struggling to write and create content for YouTube, and show up for acting auditions, and because I'm terrified of investing thousands of hours, blood, sweat and tears into something again, only for it to not work out. And the world seemingly not caring. I feel stuck in this limbo where I want to get out there and make things happen, but because I've experienced so many failures, because I've been hiding from the world until my old family has decided I'm worthy of being there, I'm frightened I'll get stuck in the same hole. There's billions of other people who were meant to be here, who would create something amazing, be a great friend or a perfect partner. I just feel so easily replaced. And after what my ex did to me, I guess you can't blame me for feeling that way. I don't have a family. I knew nobody when I moved here. So who cares if I just vanish? I know exactly what I need to do. My new philosophy, from my therapy sessions to reading self-help, Jordan Peterson's books were especially helpful, okay? To even listening to you, is to choose what I really want / need in my life and consistently move to it instead of letting my old family choose for me and move me in the opposite direction. And this time commit to it properly instead of dueling with them in my head and taking up all my reasonable time and energy. While my meds are on the way, I can't afford to see my therapist until I paid off my rent, that's in arrears, which I'm chipping away at, don't worry. I've made a few friends, but I don't want to dump all of this onto them so early on. I don't have healthcare coverage here yet, so I can't go to hospital and check myself in. But when you spoke to another viewer about building up a scaffold around their mind as they repaired it, I knew I should reach out and see what happens. I don't want to repeat the last 10 years, and some encouragement to venture out into the world, my way, as opposed to everything else I've ever received, would be like nothing I've ever experienced. Okay. The rest of it is just thank you. Okay. So, here we go. Here's my bit of advice. That was a mammoth. I'm going to have a drink first. Number one. Do not let this bitch back in. I swear to God. Number two. Here's what I want you to do. Email me back to the Hobby Nightmares email. Okay. Email me back. And I will give you my personal email address. My personal one. Okay. I want weekly updates once a week. I'll get back to you whenever I can. Sometimes I will email you back and say, I've read this, and I will think on it and get back to you. And I'll get back to you a few days later, right? I want weekly updates of what's going on and how you're doing, okay? Because there is someone out there who actually wants you to do well and will know if you're not, well, I won't know if you're not around, but eventually I think somebody would pick up this video and pick up what you've sent me and get in touch with me and tell me. I don't want you to go anywhere, okay? Alright? Good. There's one thing, right? I want updates once a week of how it's going and what you're doing. Because I'm invested now. and you can't deprive me. You can't deprive me of knowing how the story ends, okay? So, I'm invested. I care. And there'll be a lot of people in the Discord also who care. And there'll be a lot of people watching this video who care as well. If they made it this far, okay? Number two. As I just said, don't get back with this bitch, okay? She is toxic. She needs help. She needs therapy. And that's not your responsibility. Walk away. Stay walked away. Never, ever speak to her again. If she emails you, ignore the email, delete it straight away. Do not give this woman the time of day. Do not. The only reason she's coming back is because you had the absolute temerity to grow a pair and leave and start fixing your life. How dare you, right? How dare you? She wants a little toy back, mate. She wants to abuse you again. Are you going to let her abuse you again? Don't. Alright? Second of all, you've said, I've noticed a lot of women seem to do this. Why? Alright. Here's the thing, man. I'm going to give it to you straight. It seems to me like the mistakes that you're making, that you have been dating in Canada and it maybe hasn't been going very well. Because, again, you're not in a place to date yet. Alright? It's going to take you about 6 months to a year and that's of constant therapy, and everybody's different, but constant, therapy and working on things and talking to people and getting out there and working on yourself and putting yourself back on an even keel to get yourself into a place where you can bring someone in romantically without detonating the entire thing, right? Alright, so forget about all that. The other thing is, first and foremost, you said you noticed a lot of women do that. Maybe. But that and the Jordan Peterson thing, I want to say to you, would you fuck somebody who hated you? Who resented you and hated you? Right? I guess it's bad for me to say to you because you have been doing that. Oh, no, you haven't. She didn't let you. So you haven't. But would you, if you were a woman, would you fuck somebody who hated you? I wouldn't. Would you have sex with somebody who hated you? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be around somebody who hated me. The minute you start to paint all women with the same brush, the minute you start to actively dislike women, basically take your getting laid card, right, and tear it in half. You're not gonna need it anymore, dude. Because no one's gonna come anywhere near you, and they shouldn't. Because you are a ticking time bomb, my friend. Okay? I'm not saying that's who you are. I'm saying that's where you could go if you let your mind fall down this pathway of, shit. I would replace Jordan Peterson in your reading catalogue. I would like you to replace him with a little fellow called Marcus Aurelius and the Meditations. Okay? Stick with it. Keep going. Keep reading that book. I promise you it gets more interesting. It starts off quite dry as he talks about his life and thanking people who have gotten him to where he is. But some of the things he talks about later on in the book are mind-blowing. And it's a Roman emperor, literally, if you like history, it's a Roman emperor literally telling you how to get over depression, because he suffers from it as well. Okay? Read it. Stop reading JP, go and read Marcus Aurelius. Okay? Number 3, send me progress reports. I've asked for them, send me them. Send me an email back to my Hobby Nightmares email address. I'll give you my personal email. Me and you will start to converse, okay? Number 4, join the Discord. And join the voice section of the Discord, because by God, after this video, you will be a celebrity on that Discord. Let me tell you. So join the voice section of the Discord, talk to the lads, they're amazing people, and they'll really want to know you, get to know you, ask you questions mainly as well about what I've read out, maybe, like, oh, how did that make you feel, blah, 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 because it's people find it interesting. Okay? Come and talk and be in an open forum with people just like yourself. That's number 4, or is it number 5? I can't remember, right? And number 5, when you're back on your meds, when you get yourself back on an even keel financially, get back to therapy and start building that foundation. And do not go to LA. Stick in Vancouver, stick there and heal. Be where you're feeling, or where you were feeling, hope for the first time in a long time. That's where you need to be, alright? Alright, that is the end of the video. My voice is shot. We're an hour and a half in. I wanted to do a mammoth one this week. I told you I would do one. Here it is. I love you all long time. I will speak to you probably over the weekend. Oh, go and give Composite Games some love. I love you all so much. I will speak to you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I am going to have a very nice long cup of tea. See you later. Have a good one. Bye.